I'm on a challenging quest to design an automatic farm for every item in Minecraft. And with witches getting a new loot table, I created 3 simple yet efficient farms for them. So first off, we need to find a witch hut. If you know the seed of your world, or if you have access to commands, you can always just use the locate structure command to locate a swamp hut. And I'll tell you where the nearest one is at. These are found in swamp biomes, otherwise you can always copy the seed and then use the chunk-based website plus the seed in order to locate the witch huts in your world. We can see there's a witch hut right here. And if we click on it, it'll tell us exactly where that's at. You can also find the seed of your world by using a seed finder program. Otherwise, get on Lytra and search over some swamp biomes until you find one of these. So now we're going to mark in the actual area where witches can spawn inside of this witch hut. And that's what makes this structure unique, is that if we do this correctly, then we'll only get witches spawning inside. We're going to put down a marker block right there. This is going to be the bottom corner of the bottom platform. This lines up with the edge of this roof here. We're also going to put one over here at the same Y level. Now we're going to put the marker in the front. So this one here is also underneath the roof and includes this balcony here. So it's going to be right here. We're going to do this to the opposite side over here where the roof and the balcony overlap. So now we have the bottom platform marked out. We're going to go 2 blocks above this and put in another block. And then we're going to go 2 blocks above this one and put in another block. This is going to be the corner of all 3 platforms, and we'll do this to all 4 of the different sides. One there, one here, and here, as well as right here. Now you can go ahead and tear down the entire hut as we don't need it anymore. Next up, we're going to come in and remove all the blocks that are above the sea level that are within our marked area, as well as 1 block outside of it. So I'm just going to knock down all of this here, all the way around, as well as on this side, all along this side, and all of this like so. Now we're going to come in and fill in any water that is within this area, because we don't want the water to mess up our building. So we're just going to destroy it by coming in and place it in some blocks. And we're going to do that along this side as well. So now we're at the point where you got to decide which one of the witch farms you want to build. Either the golem style or the Zoglin style. I'll first show you guys how to build the snow golem one, and then I'll show you guys how to build the Zoglin one, which can also have attachment added on to make it work with looting 3. So the snow golem one is the easiest of the 3, and what we're going to do is we're going to go out another block all the way around, moving this level down to the ground on all 4 sides, and we're also going to remove any water. That way the water is not flowing in when we're trying to build the bottom part. So once we do this on all the sides, it should look like this. Now we're going to come in and build in the platform where the witches will spawn. We'll just do the bottom one here. So we're going to remove all the blocks in between these 4 markers. Then we're going to come in and fill them in with a block of your choice. Now it should look like this. Now we're going to build in some walls so that the witches can't get out of the farm. So notice the platform is longer on one side than the other side. And on the long side here, we're going to go out 2 blocks from the platform, and we're going to fill in a wall here. If there's any water, we're just going to fill this all in of your block of your choice. And we're going to take it over so that's like this. So it hangs over 2 blocks from the rest. And we're also going to do this to the opposite side. So we're going to go out 2 blocks, and then we're going to place in any walls that are needed on this side. Since the sides are fill in, we'll just ignore it. Now after that, we're going to come in and place in some stairs. And the stairs at this level are going to allow it so that witch spawns can start out here rather than solid blocks, which would stop it. And then the spawns can move into the platform so that they will end up spawning in slightly more witches if we do it this way. We'll do the same thing on this side. We don't want to have any solid blocks here. So we're going to remove all of that, and we're going to place in our stair blocks all along this. So now when it comes to the short side, we're going to do the same thing, but we're only going to put stairs out a single block. So we got a 1 block a gap, and then we got our stairs in here. If you need any blocks on the floor, go ahead, you can fill those in. So we'll put stairs on this side. Same thing in here. It could be a 1 block gap between the platform and our stairs. And we're going to take this all the way across. So now it should look like this. Now before we make this farm all dark so witches can spawn in, we want to spawn proof the rest of the area around it so that the mobs aren't spawning out here at nighttime. And instead, if we have any mobs that spawn, they will be only witches within our farm. So from the edge of the farm, we're going to count out 14. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're placing on a torch. And then we're going to take these torches parallel with the side of the farm. So we're going to take torches all the way in this direction. Then if we run into water and we still have land over there, we also want to extend the torches, as this will keep it bright so no hostile mobs will spawn here. Then we take the torches the opposite direction as well. And then we'll do this to the other sides that have land. So this side here, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Then we're going to take torches all the way along this side, and we're going to hook them up with that row over there. And then we're also going to take the torches the opposite direction. Here we go, just past the farm as well. And then we're going to do this to the other side that has land. Start from here, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to place in a row of torches. And also take them the opposite direction to cover all the land over here. Now all this light should prevent the majority of the hostile mobs from spawning near the farm. That way when we're AFKing up in the air, we don't have to have anything except for witches spawn in. The only problem is we will be getting some slimes spawning in right here near the farm, as slimes can spawn from light level 0 all the way up to 7. So to stop these, we're just going to come in and place in 2 sets of slabs just like this. And then we're going to skip 2, place in 2 more, skip 2, and continue this pattern all the way across until we reach the far side of the farm. And then we're going to go a little bit more so we can continue the pattern going this direction. You can also use carpets for this part if you have those. You cannot use buttons because buttons will stop hostile mobs from spawning, but it won't actually collide with the slimes. Or even the tiny slimes do check the 2x2 area around them. So they actually need the 3x3 area in order to spawn in, despite them being very small. So something like this should prevent all slimes from spawning in. And then the light will prevent the typical hostile mobs from spawning in any closer. Now we're going to put in the snow golems. They're going to go on the 2 sides of the farm that are the longest. So that side as well as this side. So from the center farm, we're going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to go down 1 and place a magma block here. And then while we're facing this direction, we're going to place in 2 more magma blocks to the right side of this. And we're going to fill this out, a total of 10 of them, by putting a single one right there. Now we can remove our temporary blocks. So 1 beyond the magma, we're going to place in a block, and then we're going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on top of that, it's going to be the composter. Now we'll do the same thing to the opposite side. We'll find the center here. We'll find the edge. Go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from that block, we'll go down 1 block, and then this will be the edge of our magma. Then just like the other side, we're going to go to the right side of that, and we're going to add in 2 more magma blocks there. And then we're also going to add in the 3 magma blocks onto this edge here, and another 3 on this side here. And then lastly, we're going to put in that single one right there. And then 1 block beyond that, we're then going to place in 4 temporary blocks with the composter on top. So both composters should be across from each other, but neither of them perfectly in the center. Now this golem section that's over top of water is pretty easy to build up, but if you are building it on land like this one here, we're going to have to make a little moat. Every block that's along the edge of the magma as well as the composter, we're going to break it all the way down so that it's 1 below these blocks. So we're 1 below the magma over there, and we're going to do this on all the different sides. This will give a place for the water to flow into, so it's not making a mess all around the area. And then we'll do this backside over here, and when complete, it should look like this. So now we are ready to get the golems into the composter here. We're going to build up some temp blocks, and we're going to put in a top slab here. And we're going to come over here and place in a normal piston facing this direction with a lever there. And then we're going to come underneath of this and place in a wall right there. And now we're ready to put the golems in. The first one we can just build like this, and it will go directly inside. The next one we can't put in there so easily, so we're actually going to first push a piece of snow in. And since we did have the golem fall on top of this fence here, it's half a block higher than it normally is, and that way it doesn't suffocate in this block that we just pushed in. And we can finish off putting another golem in there like that. And then we'll repeat this process, and then we'll put in a total of 8 snow golems. And then just like that, we have all the snow golems, and we can go ahead and remove that, and then we can drop them down by removing that. Now the golem's in there perfectly so that they will be able to see the bottom layer, the middle layer, and the top layer, and 50% of all the spawning area that is in these 3 platforms. Where the other golems that we'll put into this one will see the other half of the platform, so they can get all the witches aggroed at them and will chase them off the platform, while also being far enough away that they can't die from the actual potion effects. So we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. So with the golems in place, we want to keep them safe from anything else that might be wandering around that might encourage them to attack it. We don't want like a skeleton to get in a fight with the golem because it's surely going to die. So we're going to put some blocks on the backside so they can't shoot anything except for the witches that will be in front. And if we spawn proof everything properly, then we shouldn't have any other mobs really in this area except for the witches. So now we're ready to remove the blocks so the witches fall down to a single killing area. We're going to remove the blocks within this marked out area here all the way down a total of 3 blocks, except for the platform there. So it should end up looking like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to choose the side that has the easiest to spawn proof. Since we have water over here, this side is better than spawn proofing that side. And this is the side we're going to have all the witches get moved to. Now to get the witches over here, we're going to use water as it's the cheapest method to push them. So we're going to keep the floor kind of close to the platform. That way they think they can actually jump to the floor here and get to the golems. But instead they're going to jump and end up in this water, which is going to push them over here. From here we're going to extend this water by just coming in and everywhere where the water ends, we're just going to drop it down so that it continues going this direction. Drop this down, drop down. And we're going to do this all the way along both sides of these water sources until it looks like this. And now we're going to remove all these extra blocks so the water can flow over there. So now it should look like this, and this stair actually needs to go down by 1 more, and this is where the witches will fall in. They'll go down this hole here and we'll knock out a total of 3 blocks downwards. Then we can just hop down in this hole. We're going to knock out going away from the farm over here. And this is where we're going to put in our storage. So we're going to have a double chest right here. Then we're going to have a hopper that is facing into this chest here. And this is where all the witch loot will eventually end up. And you can add in as much storage as you want with more hoppers and chests. Next up, we need to have these witches be killed because this will just push them into a single area. And we're going to kill them using entity cramming. So we're going to place in a rail like this. We're going to close off this hole that we came from. Make sure to put in a stair on this side so we can still open up the chest. And we're going to make a little hole on this side where we put in a slab so we can reach this rail. So for entity cramming, we're going to place in 24 minecarts. So 1, 2. And with the 24th minecart, any mob that falls into this hole will start taking damage because there is a bunch of entities all in one area. And this was just a way to prevent lag on servers, but we can use this to our advantage. I would come in and remove that rail there and close this off so items can't fall out the holes. So the killing system is complete and the loot's ending up down there, and then place in a torch to prevent mobs from spawning down here. And now you can just dig your way out and place in some ladders in order to climb out of your storage system. You guys put a nice little way to get into that. Next up, we need to make a way so that the witches can actually believe that they can get to the golems by falling down here. The way we're going to do this is we're going to trick them to think that they can actually walk out a hole over here. So just on the right hand side of where those minecarts are, we're going to knock out these blocks here all the way down so that we're level with the bottom of this platform here. We're then going to put in a slab right there. Then we're going to put in trapdoors on top of this, as the witches think they can walk through the trapdoor, but the trapdoor is actually solid so they can't walk through it. So they'll purposely walk this direction thinking they can walk over this little slab and walk over here and get closer to the golems to throw potions at them. But instead they'll just fall into the killing chamber. Now we need to do this for both sides. That will make it a little bit more efficient so that the witches can walk off either side rather than constantly trying to walk just one direction. So on this side we're going to find the center, which is right here, and we're going to go to the right hand side of that, and we're also going to dig down so that we come level with the floor over here, and then we're going to put in that slab there, and we're going to put in some trapdoors above that. And we're going to take these trapdoors all the way up to here. Now we got to make sure that the witch can actually walk out. To do this, we're going to place in another block here, a slab on top of that, and then we're going to remove some of these blocks so the witch actually thinks it can walk up here and then walk up here and then walk out. So that's the difference between having land versus water. You'll just have to make a little staircase. And we had to remove that stair because the witch would have known that it would hit its head on it and couldn't actually fit through this hole. So now we're ready to place in the other spawning platforms. We're going to use slab for this middle spawn platform here. That's because the golems have to look underneath of this platform in order to see this lower one. And by making slabs, it gives them a little bit more of a viewing range. So we're just going to fill in this whole thing. So now it should look like this. And then the top row can be either slabs or full blocks. Just make sure that they are top slabs so mobs can spawn on them. So now we got our platforms, 3 of them, which gives us a maximum spawning area for witches to spawn within a witch hut. Now we need to encourage the top witches to walk off this top platform, which is really far from the ground, so they're a bit afraid to jump. We're going to give them some little paths that they could take. Before we do that, we're going to put slabs over top of this entire stairs that we placed down all the way around the entire farm. Then when we come over to this, we're just going to use a trapdoor instead of slabs, and we're going to continue going around this direction and this way. And we're also just going to swap out this one with some more trapdoors, and then we're going to finish off like this. This will give a little bit extra buffer so that the witches, when they get pushed by the snowballs, they don't end up falling outside of the farm. Even if they fall from here, they'll clip on the edge before they end up on the outside. This will also give them a place to walk to. So we're going to build in a fake walkway for them by placing a temp block there, a trapdoor over here, and a temp block with a trapdoor that's open on this side. So now with these two, any witches on this platform will walk over here, try to walk across this to end up on this side here to get closer to killing the golems, but instead they'll end up just falling down this hole. And the witches on the top level will also use this platform. As you see, it's far enough down that they can drop down without taking too much damage, and they'll try to walk across as well. We just don't want the witches to end up falling off this platform and then ending by landing on this. To prevent that, we're going to come in and put in a couple more trapdoors, one here as well as one on top of here. They're all facing this direction, so when they're opened up, they're going to make a nice flat wall, so any witches, even if they're moving fast, will get kind of lined by that and fall into the water. Now we're going to make another one of these on the opposite corner. Now we have 2 of them, and we're going to do this to the other side for those golems. Notice that we also have them far enough to the edges so that they're not interfering with the view of the golem shooting, because we don't want the trapdoors actually blocking the shots from the golem. So now it should look like this. Now we also have to prevent the witches from getting pushed over the edge from the snowballs and landing on this here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place in these little railings, which will prevent the witches from falling outside the farm. We're going to start the railings at the edge here, and we're going to take them all the way to the side. And we're going to do this on either side where there's no golems. We're going to make one railing there. We're going to make another railing right here. And we're going to lastly put a railing up here. So now it looks like this. So to put the roof in so that it is dark, we're going to go up 2 blocks and we're going to put in a slab here. And then we're going to cover the entire platform just like this. Now we'll need a light level of 0 in the platform, so we need to block all skylight. And since skylight starts at 15, that means we're going to have to go out a total of 15 blocks away from the edge of this platform. So 15 is there, and we're going to do this on all 4 of these sides. So now it looks like this, and now we need to come in and fill in these corners. What we're going to do is we're going to start here, and then we're just going to zigzag all the way across until we touch the other side. Just like this. Now we're going to do this on all 4 sides, and then we're also going to fill in this triangle area. So now it should look like this. And put a lightning rod in the center to protect your snow golems. And if we come into the center here, on top of these actual spawning platforms, it doesn't matter where we stand, anywhere along this edge, it should always say a light block level as well as sky block level of 0. And you can check this on all the platforms if you're having trouble with your witches spawning in. But now that we have the roof in, we can place in the water, which is going to make bubble columns so that the golems can shoot through the bubble columns and have their snowballs hardly affected, where the witches' flash potions that come back at them will get pulled down and will splash down there and won't actually kill the golem. So to do this, we're going to place in a water source over top of each of these magma. So starting here, we're going to place in a block and then a water there. And then we're going to continue with our temp blocks as well as water sources underneath of each of these, and the water will flow outwards that cover a pretty big area, and we can come in and remove all of these blocks. Next, we're going to place in a sign in where the golems' heads are so the water doesn't flow in there and kill them. And then place a torch up there to spawn proof it. Now to turn each of these sources into a column of bubble columns, we're going to plant down some kelp. We can't place on the magma, so we're just going to remove these one at a time and bone meal this all the way up till it reaches the top. Then we're going to break it off and replace the magma. And we're going to do this for each of these magma blocks. And you can see this will make sources, so now we can actually see the descending bubble column. So with all 10 of those complete, it should be a whole bunch of bubble columns. And if you have a golem side that has dirt over here, you want to make sure that we remove this down to the same level as the magma in these spots here, because we don't want the potions from the witches to end up hitting those blocks and killing our golem. We're going to do the same thing on this side over here. And now we can do this exact process for the golems that are over here. So now we got the water in on both sides. And we do not want to have any solid blocks at the same foot level as these platforms here. So notice on this very lowest platform, we have these solid dirt blocks out here. So going 3 blocks away from where we have the stairs, we're going to remove any solid blocks. So along all of this side here, and we'll do this on all sides that have solid blocks. So now it looks like this. This will give us a few more witch spawns inside the lowest layer. Now it's time to leave a like on the video. So now we are ready to AFK the farm. We're going to go on the same side where the witches are being killed, and we're going to go straight out this direction till we get to the edge of the roof here. Then we're going to build up all the way to Y level 182. You can build with blocks or you can use scaffolding. So once you've stacked up so that this block here, when looking at it, says Y level 182, you can go ahead and build in your AFK box. That way nothing will come and kill you. Make sure to put in a solid block above the player's head. That way we don't have phantoms spawning while you're AFKing. So you will sit like this. So while you're AFKing at the top of there, the area around the player where hostile mobs can spawn in is 128 radius sphere. This includes part of the witch hut, so the witches can spawn on all 3 of these layers. It also includes the very bottom of the sphere is this killing chamber here. The witches fall any further than this, they'll be outside of that area where any hostile mob will immediately despawn. So by AFKing up really high in the air, we can make sure that all the caves around are farther than that spawning distance, so no mobs will spawn in here. And we can also minimize the amount of area that we need to be spawn proofed on the surface here. And this is why it helped to have the player AFKing on the side that's already mostly spawn proof with any water. Now you might have to do some more spawn proofing when night comes. That's because this surface area is close enough to the player for hostile mobs to spawn, and we don't have light over here. So anywhere where you see hostile mobs are spawning in, come in with some torches and spam them in the area, because we want everything to be a light level of 8 or higher so we don't have any hostile mobs or slimes spawning in this area. If you do have river biomes nearby, you could get some drowns to spawn in here, but their spawning chance is so low that it's unlikely to affect the rates of your farm. And you can check for hostile mobs by pressing F3 plus B so you can see their hitboxes, and then coming in and changing your entity distance to 500%. And this will let you see entities from really far away. And by using a spyglass, we can distinguish the hostile mobs from the other passive mobs. So now that I've placed some torches around the outside here, you can see we got no more hostile mobs spawning, and all of them are ending up inside of our witch farm. Now while you're AFKing at the farm, the witches will be getting hit by the snow golems, and I originally showed that it was possible to stack snow golems and use them in a farm like this after a change in 1.16, where before the snow golems would end up just hitting each other and their snowballs would never reach any hostile mob. And after showing this, it has been reused in a wide variety of people's mob farms. We can now see how the bubble columns work. They'll shoot the snowballs, they do get pulled down a little bit by the bubble columns, but they're a little bit random on how they shoot, so they'll end up hitting the witches This will make the witches mad to try to kill the golems, so they'll try to get closer and then end up walking to the 4 sides that we put in the trapdoors. Notice that the witches will drink speed potions to get there faster, and they will also throw potions. And the first type of potion that the witches will try to throw is a slowness potion. This is because the thing that they're attacking is so far away from them, so their goal is to slow it down first, and only after their target gets the slowness effect will they then start throwing the harming potion. And with our bubble columns here, we can pull down the potions so that they splash down here and never end up hitting the actual golems. So the golems will never get slowness, and therefore the witches will never throw harming, and therefore we can make sure the golems never actually die from the witches. If you do notice that your snow golems are dying, just remember to come in here and check so that there's nowhere for the potions to hit, and check to make sure your witches aren't actually getting out of the farm or any other hostile mobs are coming over and killing them. Despite the farm being very cheap and easy to build up in your world, the raids are actually quite good. After testing it for over 10 hours, it produces around 7,800 items per hour, with 5,800 of those being just from redstone. This is because of the buff in 1.21, where witches will always drop redstone dust. And then on top of that, they get their normal chance of dropping their other items. And this was just a way to kind of balance it off since raid farms are nerfed after the 1.21 update. Have you joined as a subscriber yet? Now I will show you how you can build the witch farm with the Zoglins in it. And then after that, I'll show you how you can convert it over into a looting 3 version. But first I wanted to do all the parts that I already showed to get up to this part here. And then at the very bottom layer here, instead of placing in any type of block, we're going to make each of the spawning platforms out of packed ice, which you can easily get from icebergs or ice spikes. You can always come in and place in the packed ice later, but having other blocks will reduce the rate. And instead of placing in a wall that is 2 blocks away from the edge of the platform, we're then going to start our wall only 1 block away, so it's 1 block on all 4 sides. And we're going to also use stairs to keep it so that the spawns that do start outside of the farm don't get cancelled by colliding with a solid block. So now we're at this point here. Now we're going to build up this ring. We're going to put full blocks here, and then we're going to put our stairs on this level. Then we're going to do another 2 full blocks, and then stair, and then 1 more full block on top. And then we're going to take this all the way around all 4 sides, like so. Now we are ready to get the Zoglin down into the bottom layer. We're just going to go in the middle here and place in some slabs across the entire width of the farm. And then we're going to place another portal on top. We're going to grab our Zoglins as Hoglins from the nether dimension, and we'll use this to transport them over into the overworld. So we'll go ahead and light this and go through. You'll then want to locate the nearest warped forest biome. You can do this by either using the seed and the chunk base site, or just by searching around for it. If the biome's pretty far away, it might be worth getting on top of the bedrock, using these tricks here to get on top of the bedrock ceiling. And then once you do find the warped forest, placing down some blocks up here so that Hoglins will spawn, similar to like my Hoglin food farm. Then you can also transport the nether portal on top of the bedrock, as it will properly link up with the overworld using this trick that I originally discovered before it was ever announced in any Minecraft changelogs. So once you got some Hoglins, make sure to give them a name tag so that they don't despawn since they are hostile mobs. Now if you do have a baby Hoglin, make sure to let it grow up into an adult before pulling it into the overworld, because once it turns into a Zoglin, the baby Zoglins don't grow up. And then use leads to grab these Hoglins and pull them towards the portal, as it will be afraid of the actual portal blocks, and pull them through and they'll get teleported. Then you can go in afterwards and push them out of the portal. And then just remove them from the lead and drop them down here. And then they will convert into a Zoglin. And we can increase the rates of the farm by putting in 2 Zoglins per platform. And we can even increase them a bit more by placing in a row of doors across the center of this. That way each Zoglin will be able to push their own witches without constantly going after the same witch. The doors themselves don't affect the witches spawning in. As you can see, the witch will be placed in the center of the block, and it's close to the door, but it's not actually colliding with it. Therefore, it won't actually stop any spawns. So once you got both the Zoglins for this level, go ahead and build the next level and put in the doors and bring in 2 Zoglins, and then do the same thing for the third one. Once you have 6 adult Hoglins or Zoglins in your farm, now we can come in and finish off the ceiling. We're going to do this same kind of slab cover across the entire thing from that side to this side. So now that looks like this, we are ready to remove the nether portal as we don't need it anymore. And now on one of the sides which are longer, we're going to come in and dig down into the farm. We can clear out the rest that's underneath of it, as we still have all this dirt underneath of our platform. We're going to remove all of this dirt here, and we're going to remove everything along the sides and underneath the platform, a total of 3 blocks down, so all the way down to here. So now it will look like this. And this is the spot where all the witches will get pushed by the Zoglins. Now we just need to transfer all these witches to a killing chamber. So put some water in the long side, water there as well as water there. And put the water sources on the side that is farthest from big bodies of water. This will make it easier to spawn proof later on. And then we're going to get this water to reach all the way to the far side by coming in and removing these blocks here. And then removing the ones where the water just barely reaches, and this will make the water continue flowing. We'll do the same thing to this side over here. That way we can use the same water source to reach across the entire length of the farm. And then we can remove all these blocks here in the center. Now you can see all the currents of the water pushing the witches right over to here. Now in here we're going to dig down 1, 2, 3, and we're also going to place a sign in there so the water doesn't fall down our hole. And then on one side we're going to come in and place in our storage chest here, as well as the hopper that's pointing into it. Now you can come over here and put in more storage with more chests and hoppers that you can collect all the loot while you are AFK. And then you can also place in a ladder as well as a hole that goes all the way to the surface. Now all the witches will fall down this hole right here, but we still need a method to kill them, and we're going to use minecarts to kill them. So we're going to place in a rail on top of that hopper there. We're going to close this off with a stair so that we can still access the chest, but the items won't fall through any holes. Then we'll make a little peeky hole right here at the slab. And then we'll come in and place in 24 minecarts on top of this. And with that many minecarts, any mob that falls into here will start taking damage. Even though the witch can start drinking healing potions, entity cramming from all the minecarts will kill it really fast. Then all the loot's being picked up by the hoppers, put into the chest here. We need to close this off so the items don't fall down this hole here. And put a light source down here so mobs don't spawn. Now we are done with the collection system. The last thing we can do is come in and increase the spawn rates of the farm just by a little bit by coming up to this level here and putting in 3 slabs like this all the way around the entire farm coming off of the stairs here. What this does is it will put the highest block in this chunk as being a block rather than air, and this will let the game start spawns at least at this Y level, and then the spawns that start out here like on the slab can actually be moved inwards and placed on top of the actual spawning platform within the farm. This will just increase the farm's productivity just by a small percentage. So now it will look like this all the way around. Ignore that I had an extra block on top of this. It doesn't need that extra block as there's plenty of room for the witches to spawn in here. Now we're ready to put in the location for the player to AFK. We're gonna have the player way up in the sky, that way they're hardly loading the farm. And we'll do this by placing in some scaffolding on the same side that we have the collection system, which should also be the side that has the most water, so you don't have to spawn proof as much later on. And we're also going to choose a corner that's on this side. I would recommend choosing a corner that has the most water. This side has a little bit more water than that side. But right here where the corner is, we're going to build up with scaffolding all the way to 182 Y level. You can either stack up with blocks or use scaffolding. So once you've stacked up to here, and if you look at this very top block on the right hand side where it says target block, I'll say Y level 182. And this is where we're going to build in our AFK platform. I'm going to use some glass so we can kind of watch the farm from above. Remove that one, make sure to come in and place in a solid type of block so sky access doesn't reach the player's head. That way we can prevent phantoms from spawning in. Now while we're AFKing up here, the witches will be able to spawn in. So now we can see the witch farm working. We got the witches spawning on our 3 platforms. The witches are just sitting there, but the Zoglins will attack most mobs, including the witches. When they do attack them, the witches will try to attack back, but the thing is, they only attack using potions like poison and damage potions, but poison and damage does nothing to Zoglins, as they are considered undead mobs. Actually, the harming potions will heal the Zoglins. And the concept of using Zoglins in the witch farm was an original design of mine back in 1.16 when they came out, with this newest design being a slight improvement upon my previous one that I showed. And by having ice, it does help the witches slide a bit more easily to the edge and fall off. And then they're all getting collected by the water stream down here and getting killed by our entity cramming. You can see the farm is working in the daytime, but once it turns dark, all of a sudden hostile mobs are going to spawn on all of this land around the farm. And with this many hostile mobs being outside the farm, they're going to take up all the possible hostile mob spawns that can occur in the game, so we won't get very many witches to spawn inside. So to stop this, we're going to come in and spam in a whole bunch of torches all around the farm. Because slimes can spawn down to Y level 7, we gotta keep the torches a little bit closer together than if you're just trying to prevent most hostile mobs, which only spawn with a light level of 0. Instead of lighting it up, you can always choose to remove the land and just let it get flooded by water. And under the overhang, if there's any solid blocks that are at the same Y level as these stairs, come in and remove those out. Same distance as the overhang, so we're going to go out 3 from this side, as well as we're going to go out a total of 3 on this side. This also will help increase the spawns. And then come in and make sure to light it back up once again. You can see how far I went out from the farm placing in torches. So now you can check for hostile mobs spawning by coming in and increasing your render distance, as well as entity distance, so that you can see entities that are really far away, and then pressing F3 plus B to see the hitboxes. And then using your spyglass to look for any hostile mobs that might be spawning in an area they might have forgot to place down some torches. So I don't see any hostile mobs spawning, which means if the game wants to place in any hostile mobs, they'll have to place them inside of the witch hut, and anything that spawns on these platforms will only be witches and no other type of hostile mob. And the rates from this witch farm will get you 7,600 items per hour, and 5,600 of those items are redstone dust. Help me out by leaving a donation or by joining as a YouTube member. Now I will show you how to convert the Zoglin version over into a looting 3 version. Get to the tutorial part where it looks like this. We're going to place in a sign right here and remove that one and put a sign there, remove that block there. Then place in a stair here. We're going to place a magma block here. This will do a bit of damage to the mob, and when mobs take damage, they won't be able to despawn for a short period of time. Something I noticed a long time ago, I made a bug report on, which they did change a little bit, but it continues to work as long as the mobs get some damage. I'm going to come in here and place in water right there. We're going to remove these 2 blocks, and we're going to remove 2 more blocks over here. And then at the end of this, we're going to place in a wall. And then just in front of that, we're going to place in a soul sand here. Now we're going to box this all off and remove any extra water that might be interfering. We'll place a block there, and then these blocks are going to go up like this and this. Then we're going to have blocks on all sides of where the soul sand is, as this is going to be our bubble column to move the mobs up to where the player is going to be up in the sky. Now since I did build this in the water, we're going to have to destroy all the water sources that are in here. I'm just going to place in some blocks to do that. Now if I remove these blocks, we should see the water flowing over here. And then we gotta keep the water inside the bubble columns by placing in a sign there and there. So now it looks like this. And then once they go through here, they get pushed over here, and then they're going to get pushed up into this bubble column. To help them get pulled inside, we are going to knock out this 1 block back here. So we're going to first encase it, and then if we destroy this block here, there's going to be air there. The water source that's here is going to try to flow over here. And what this does is it just pulls the witches into the bubble column. So now we can start moving them all the way up to where the player will be AFK. We're going to continue this tube all the way up to Y level 189. I'm using glass so we can easily watch the farm run. You can build it out of any full block. So now if we look at this block here, it says looking at 189, and that will take up the other 4 sides. Once it's like this, we're going to come and place in a single water source right there and let it flow all the way down to the bottom. Then we're going to come down just above the soul sand, place in a kelp there, and then we're going to bone mill this kelp with a bone mill until it reaches the very top of the farm. This converts all that flowing water into kelp with water sources, so then when we break the kelp, we're now just left with the water sources, which can get converted over into bubble columns. So now you should be able to ride this all the way to the very top. Now we'll want the witches to come over and down a little bit. We're going to do this on the side that has more spawn proofing in a similar corner of our other AFK spot. So going back down 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to build in a little platform for us to work off of. This is where we're going to place in our chest to hold the loot. So we're going to have a chest right here as well as one right on top of that. And then all the witches will end up on this platform here. To stop their XPs from falling into the hopper, we're going to place in a carpet above that. And we're going to place in another hopper in front to pick up any items that fall off to the side. Now we can go ahead and take the sides of this upwards on 3 sides. And this is where the witches will fall down. Now right across from the water on this side over here, we're going to place in a sign, and then we can put in little walls here, here, and here, here. Now we can release the witches. They're going to go up this water, get pushed over, and then fall down this little hole right here. And to stop them from bobbing up and down like that witch right there, we're going to place in a ceiling to that. Now we can make a little spot for the player to AFK, so we're going to bring in these walls so the items don't fall out. And we're going to make a little spot for the player to sit in right here. Once again, we want the player to AFK with a block that prevents skylight from reaching them, so we don't get no phantoms. And we're also going to place in a door, and this is where the player will sit inside. Now all you need is a looting 3 sword. Mending will also help you repair it. Then you can just go AFK here and swing your sword every 1 second or so. You can automate this process by using a auto clicker. I like using this one that's called OP Auto Clicker 3.0. If you set the milliseconds to 1000, and then you hold your sword and press F6, it will automatically click every 1000 milliseconds. And you can see all loot's getting picked up by the hoppers, and it's getting stored in these chests. And the looting 3 farm will produce you around 10,700 items per hour, with 6,400 of them being redstone dust. But since you're killing the witches by the player, you have a chance at getting the loot that the witches are holding. And since the witches take damage, they will hold and drink a healing potion. Since it's holding it in its hand, you also have the chance of getting those instant heal potions. See how I'm making an automatic farm for every item in the game of Minecraft with this playlist here. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next crazy farm. Bye bye!